In 1990, Paramus, New Jersey natives Trixter explodes on the national scene with their self-titled debut release. After years of successful touring, the band goes their separate ways to pursue other musical endeavors. Without question, one of the hardest working members of the band is bassist, vocalist PJ Farley. Along with releasing two incredible solo records, 2016's Boutique Soundframes and 2020's Accent the Change, he is also a member of the group Ra, toured with Lita Ford, Eric Martin of Mr. Big, and recently became a member of the Chris Jericho-led band Fozzy. Now back with his Trixter bandmate Steve Brown, he's doing multiple dates cranking out the Trixter classics and worldwide tours with Fozzy. PJ remains one of the hardest working people in the industry. I was fortunate enough to get to know PJ when an earlier version of Trixter and my band did a few shows together, including their record release show at a local club in New Jersey. He is without a doubt one of the most kind and genuine people I have ever met in the industry. This is a Launchpad Live and 99 WNRR Vault interview with PJ Farley.
Hey everybody, this is PJ Farley and you are listening to 99 WNRR.
Oh man, how you feeling? How you been?
I'm good. Starting to get busy again, but I was home for a long time, and then I was able to sneak out and travel and get some work done and do some gigs and kind of get out there as much as one could hope. And then it's been pretty quiet for December, January. I was out a little bit last month. Pretty quiet this month, and then April going back out.
Yeah.
Hopefully light at the end of the tunnel.
I've been keeping tabs on where you've been, and
yeah,
man, he's still getting around. That's cool. This is a very, very cool record. It's a very, very cool record. Matter of fact, I'm going to get in trouble because I was playing Chokehold before it probably got released as a single. So I'm going to.
Well, it's technically not released as a single yet, but I mean, go for it.
No, because I was when I got to Chokehold, I was just like, oh yeah. It kind of had the vibe of Boutique Soundframes a little bit. I was just like, yeah, this is something that I'm like an extension of the last record, which I love. The last record, it was great.
Yeah, thanks.
And I was just like, well, I was also asking, was this was different though as far as experience, because the first one you were recording with Steve and using his stuff and stuff like that. Was there any change on this one?
Yeah, I did it. I did this record all over the place. I worked with Sahaj from Ra, Ra, on like 4 of the songs. So I was out in LA a bunch, working out there, recording out there. And I did a song in Nashville. I did some songs in Michigan and Detroit area. I did 2 up at Steve's house here in Jersey. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to get out and just work with different people and, kind of, again, it was very similar to the last process where I was just kind of recording songs as I wrote them. I wasn't, tracking down a record. I wasn't, on a schedule or anything. I just, I write songs, and when I write them, I got to get them out of my head and record them before I can really fully commit to writing anything else. So I kind of got to clear the hard drive, as I so to speak. So that's what I did. I wrote a couple songs, and I went out to Michigan and I recorded them, and then wrote a couple more. I went out to LA, and that's kind of happened. And by the time I had 4 or 5 songs, I'm like, all right, I guess I can, I'm kind of over the hump, the halfway point of a record now. So I guess just keep going.
Yeah. Did you find that there was a different thing going on sonically with the different interactions and stuff like that? And if that did occur, how did you rein it back in? Did you find out that, with the different experiences that maybe different things were going in different directions, and how do you rein that back in to make it, all cohesive?
Not so much. I mean, at the end of the day, I know exactly what I want. I know exactly how it should sound. So I knew anybody I was going to work with, was going to just be able to get that for me, you know, and kind of get across what I was hearing. So, you know, and everyone I've worked with before in some way, shape, or form. So if people I trusted and, you know, knew that they would know where I was coming from, right from the get-go. So I wasn't really looking so much for, you know, to really kind of drastically change the sound, you know. I did want to kind of think outside the box a little bit more, you know, get some input musically, you know, and just bounce things off of other people, you know, as opposed to having to just do everything myself. You know, I mean, yeah, I wrote all the songs and everything and pretty much knew how all the parts should be, you know, laid out and everything like that. But, you know, like working with Sahaj, you know, I could say, you know, I'm kind of hearing it like this. And maybe, you know, he's such a, you know, a great producer. And instrumentation wise, you know, I mean, he could suggest different instruments maybe, or, you know, different sounds, you know, maybe something that I wouldn't think of. You know, I just wanted to give myself a little freedom, you know, and kind of release the reins a little bit.
What's going on over there on that bar behind you? Is that Beam I see going on? What's over there?
Yeah, it's a bottle of Jim Beam. It's rare.
Yes.
A friend of mine brought that over, and it's still hanging on. I don't really do that, so it's still pretty safe where it is. That Crown back there doesn't stand a chance, but it's just like Jim Beam honey, and I don't really drink that. So.
Oh wow. Cool. Man, it's been a long Jersey since the days of Club NA.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go back and, you know, do the Chris Farley moment, but, you know, but, yeah.
Go ahead, say it. Remember when you were in the Beatles? I'll try to remember, but it might take me a while.
But those things do pop up, especially when I get a moment and just, you know, either we're on Facebook or whatever, but, you know, thinking about just those, you know, a few gigs when we were just, you know, opening up for you guys. And it was one of those things where it's just like, you know, standing on the side and just, you know, watching just the kick-ass band just go at it, you know, classic Jersey, grab it by the throat and just go and have a big party while you're doing it. And those are the things that I always remember, whether it be Studio One and doing a show there, or whether it be, there's any of those times, you know, and playing all those stages and everything like that, those first few years, is that something that's, you know, moving on from, or is that something that, you know, you kind of get, hey, I remember that when, and I remember this when, and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I mean that's always a part of me. That's always there. You know, I mean, it's ingrained in me. All those shows. I mean, those are the formidable years. You know,
the formidable years. Yeah.
You know, those are the times that we were. I mean, I'm blessed and happy to be playing and making music right now.
Yeah.
Still being able to do it, but I mean, back then it was, you know, just so young and full of piss and vinegar, and you know, I mean, you kind of always go back to that to go, hey, remember when you remember that? It's, you know, it's got to be like that all the time. You know, that nobody meant it more than we did, you know, and on those stages that you're talking about.
Yeah.
We were hungrier. There wasn't a fire bigger than when we were up there doing it. You know, we meant everything we were doing. So that's it's almost like, you know, if you're trying to lose weight and if you were big at one point, you put a picture of yourself when you were in shape on the refrigerator. Keep you reminded. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, true. How did you know I was going through that? You looking at my posts or something like that? Yeah, I did that. No, I'm serious. I did. I started doing that very, very thing. And I'm like, no, this hell bad kick right
now. On the refrigerator?
No, that I won't do. No, that's why I do radio, bro. Oh man. Does that, I mean, I wonder how it couldn't possibly be, but is it when you think about that, the days, piss, vinegar, and, fire and stuff like that, how does that translate into something new and fresh like a solo career where now it's your second album in, but you're seasoned, you've done a ton of stuff. You are a traveling man. You are all over the place. And I want to get a little bit into that because I really want to know when you made that transition. But is that same kind of fire, or is it, because of maturity, age, does it temper? And how does that rival the two different processes for you?
Let me see if I get the question right.
Okay.
Basically making the transformation from that to doing solo records and stuff like that. And
yeah, just like, like you said, when, the first record, everything, balls to the wall, piss and vinegar, fire. And then, now you have this new venture and now it's solo. And when you started this with Boutique and now in this record, is that same fire still there, or is it kind of different because, like I said, of age and maturity? What's the different process from there to now doing again something on your own?
Yeah, I mean, it just comes out in different forms, really. I mean, the fact that I'm still doing it, it's the fact that I'm making records in a time when there is no record business shows you that there's still piss and vinegar there, and there's still a fire for music. So just the fact that I showed the fuck up shows you that it's still there. And no one's getting rich from doing this shit. So, I mean, I think there's your answer.
No, that's exactly it. I mean, and if that's not a Jersey straight up answer, I don't know what is. Yeah.
I'm here, aren't I?
I mean, yeah, exactly. Am I doing stuff? Exactly. Am I writing? Am I still recording? Yeah. Because I don't, I think it is something to do with New Jersey because no matter what's going on, we buck the trend. We always did.
Yeah.
We always buck the trend. Because after the records and then obviously the breakup of Trixter, and then all of a sudden you start popping up doing all these other projects. What was that? What was that moment like? I mean, I know when a project, when something ends, there's that moment of, I'm like, oh man, what am I doing now?
Which time?
I mean, yeah, exactly. This 40-foot, was Ringo, this 40-foot Ringo, and then you're hooking up with Lita, and then Raw and stuff like that, and that progression. Was just like the next thing and just falling into it, or yeah. Because being in the industry, you had the more connections and people were calling. And what was that moment of transition, man? Because I always thought about that with you. It's just like, man, you got this one thing and it's set in stone for a while. And then all of a sudden you got to kind of reinvent yourself or recreate yourself. Maybe, I don't know. And that's the question.
Yeah. I mean, after Trixter just kind of went back in the shed, Steve and I, obviously we kept writing and recording, and we started throwing rocks, turned into Soaked, turned into 40-foot Ringo, turned into Stereo Fallout. And right around the Stereo Fallout time, the end of Soaked into Stereo Fallout, or end of 40-foot Ringo into Stereo Fallout, I joined Raw. And that kind of was my first kind of step back into the touring cycle, the record tour cycle.
Yeah. I
went back onto a major label, get back on a bus and touring, in current present day, on modern rock radio and doing large festivals and, great touring and stuff, and, just being part of the wheel again. After that, it just started to take shape. Then a couple of years later, we put Trixter back together. And then a year right after that, then I got the call from Lita. And then a couple of years after that, Ra got back together.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's been like this cycle. Like you've always been doing something, and that's what I've always keyed in on. It's like, man, you're always busy, you're always in the middle, and then you get to the thing which I thought was a blast. You hook up with Chris, and I'm going, all right, what's this quarantine quarantine thing, and I'm having a blast with that. That's when I was on that live feed when you guys did that one night. That was hilarious. Thanks for the call out, Bob. That was nice, you know. I appreciate it.
Of course, man.
And then I was wondering, okay, what, I guess, you know, something for fun, but yet it led to you playing with Chris and Fozzy for a few shows. So it just seems like this thing that you're always evolving into doing something, man. And that's staying power.
I'm really lucky. You know, it does so happen where it's after one thing kind of either slows down, something always like comes up, you know, whether it was, you know, after Lita, Raw picked back up and I was doing both at the same time. And then Eric Martin called and now I've been playing with him for 4 or 5 years. And then, you know, yeah, then Chris calls last year and, you know, we start quarantine and then turns into me joining Fozzy permanently. And now I got Raw again with a new record coming out next week. It's like, I'm seeing a pattern forming here.
Yeah, that's my point. I'm like, how many?
Somewhere in the middle, I release solo records.
Yeah, I know. And that's where we find it. You know, again, it goes back to, where did you have the time? I mean, digitally, I mean, God, this is not like back then where we could carry this stuff with us. We can make an album in the bathroom, for God's sake. I mean, it's crazy.
Which I didn't do it. I actually did this pretty old school style. Go fly out of town and go into a studio and make this record, you know, as opposed to just, you know, because I don't make records at my house, you know. So I'm not making laptop records or anything like that. Like I'm doing it.
Can I say thank you for that? I'm so sick of hearing it's like, yeah, we brought the studio with us and the whole,
you can. I've done stuff, you know, if I have to do a bass track, something I could do it here, but I'm not, you know, setting up for live drums and I don't have the knowledge either.
But it's a classic Raw feel though, you know, there's something just so different about it, you know, that recording it that way. I mean, from the way you used to do it, you know, going to a, you know, 48 track and whatever, and then, you know, doing the classic bump down and recording live drums and everything like that, even though if there's some samples in there to keep everything on cue, you know, and keep the levels right, of course, you know, but there's something to be said still about that live vibe. There just is. And in a record, the warmth of it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you have humans, for one, it's a good start.
That helps.
Start. But yeah, I mean, I'm not like knocking technology off. Of course, I used it for this record.
Yeah.
Plenty. But I mean, I was just referring to the fact that, you know, so many people could just go to somebody else's house and do it, you know, but I did get into legitimate studios and do it.
Yeah.
Which is always fun.
Was your connection with Eric, and have you talked to him lately? How's he doing?
Eric?
Yeah.
Crazy as ever.
Really?
He's great.
Anything is that another thing on the list? Here we go. I mean, here we go again. Here goes PJ. He's doing something else. You know, he's planning on when things open up and everything like that. We'll get into that.
Me and Eric actually have a couple shows. We have like 5 or 6 shows next month.
Nice. Okay.
The old team getting back together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like everybody you're doing the whole jukebox thing, or what did you call it? I forgot what it was called.
USA Pop Brigade?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, actually, that's the full band thing, and that's with Steve Brown and Joey Casada, which is really just kind of morphed into that USA Pop Brigade thing. Started as a trip to Japan. We did 4 or 5 shows in Japan, and we just kind of called it that because he was really focused on doing some of the poppier Eric Martin solo stuff and maybe some of the more obscure Mr. Big stuff. And we did some of my stuff, some 40 Foot Ringo stuff, some Trixter stuff. So it was just kind of an idea we threw. Ever since we've been doing it here, it's just kind of Eric Martin featuring Trixter, you know?
Yeah.
And I think we do have a show June 5th in Pennsylvania, an outdoor thing in Sunbury, Pennsylvania. And that's the full band. But next month we're doing just me and him. We go out. We've been doing acoustic shows, for a couple of years now. And especially now it's conducive to the setting, so whether it was pre-pandemic or not, these are the kind of shows we do where we prefer the tables and, sit down and enjoy the show.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's very, very, very difficult to watch an acoustic show when you're standing all the time. That's for sure. The vibe just isn't the same. Yeah, but yeah, I'll be out there. I just actually got my. Oh yeah, I did. Oh man. Oh, well, I can tell you. I don't know if you did or if you're gonna, but that first.
I got the antibodies right. I'm riding the antibody high right now. So.
High. Okay. Yeah. First 2 days single hurt like a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it felt like your arm was. Yeah, huh?
A sore arm.
Yeah. The thing actually, she shot it right on the tat, and it just went. I was like, oh yeah, that's not good. Well, look at that. That's not good. Yeah, but it went down, and today's the first day it felt good. I got it on Friday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll clear me to get out there and go to some shows. Amen. How cool was it to to have the cover art done by somebody very, very special?
Yeah.
Or for Accent to Change?
Yeah, it's funny. So my daughter just was in this painting phase. I mean, she's an artist. I mean, and she just draws and paints and loves to create. She's a gamer girl and an artist and, typical in the truest form. So like you go up past, you go, oh my God, that's great. It's crap. Don't even look at it. It took me 5 seconds. So,
oh no,
she was obsessed with painting and drawing eyes. And I mean, and she sketches them and does the shading and everything. So it's like mind blowing. So when she was 8, like a year and a half ago, she painted this one. I'm like, oh my God, that's going to be my album cover. And I didn't tell her because I knew that she would probably flip out and yell at me or something like that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to wait till I hand her the actual CD. Maybe that'll make it seem cooler. So when I finally gave her the CD, she's like, why would you use this one? I paint like 20 of these. I use dollar store paint. Like, of course, started yelling at me. Like, I'm like, yeah, but look, like you go on iTunes and Amazon and you're all over the place. Why would you, your 8-year-old painted your album? Why did you do that? 5 minutes it took me. Like, typical. I still love it. Everybody loves it. But, I
do. I love it, man. I was just like, oh, but it's so true. It's so true. Any kind of, why would you do? I could, think I'm, mine are way older, married, almost out of college. I'm out of college, but just to sit there and think about, this is exactly what one of my girls would do. Right off the bat. And one of them's an artist that graduated. So yeah, she was like that. Why would you do that? That sucks. Like, you are so New Jersey. I look at her, I go, you are so New Jersey, you have no idea.
Totally.
Oh, man. This whole time, how much it helped. I mean, for somebody who tours and tours and tours, and then all of a sudden you can't tour. I mean, you've been getting out, you've been doing things. I mean, so I think that's been cathartic in a way for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was
always on the go, but man, someone telling you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, it was an adjustment. I mean, especially last year, man. I kicked off the year with a bang. I did the Jericho cruise the end of January, and then a week later I did Shiprocked with Ra. Then right after that, I had shows on the road with Eric, and then I went to Nashville and recorded. And I was busy up until March 15th, and then we closed the world on the 16th. So it basically just said, you're done. You're done now. And for 5 months, I didn't do anything. I didn't go anywhere. And then came August, and I went out with Fozzy, and then me and Eric had some shows. And I was kind of busy there for like August, September, October. Then it slowed down around November and really up until last month. So, but you know what, man, I wasn't itching to get out. Like, I needed it. I think I needed it, like probably so many people did, but like I slept last year more than I ever did. Like, to the point to where I'm like, all right, I'm kind of over this sleep thing, like 7-8 hours a day seems a bit excessive.
It's true.
Get back on the 5-hour thing, and I'm good,
And we're trained, man. We're trained. We are creatures of habit, and 5 hours was our thing. Rehearse one night, sleep 5 hours, go up and do a show.
Yeah. I wake up, I'm in the same place, All right. So, but I got to be home and just really play my instruments for the fun of it and to learn more and, stuff that I wouldn't normally get to do, I'm making music and I'm always playing when I'm on the road, but, never got time to just shed, like a teenager grounded essentially, and that's been fun, going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's a really cool way to look at it, man, to shed all that extra stuff that you have to keep on doing and just be, that's the finest, that's the straightest. And I asked that question because, like I said, you're always on the go, man. You've been on the go since those days, and you haven't stopped. You've always rolled, like you said, from another thing to another thing, and add the solo records, and you're like, wow, you're not stopping. So that time had to come. It had to be really strange. It had to be strange for you to be like, okay, I can picture you I was picturing you going, okay, it's been 3 months now. What do I do? All right, now I got to find something to do. But you're telling me it was pretty, docile. You're like, I'm cool with it.
I enjoyed it thoroughly. And it was, I guess, not to get too deep, but it was the world's way of basically telling all of us, just everyone, let's take a deep breath here. And, that's how 3 weeks into quarantine, I wrote that song Slow on the new record.
Yeah.
And I wasn't planning on writing a song at all. I was sitting in this chair just playing and, wife had the kids in the kitchen doing school and stuff. I'm like, all right. And it just came out. And it was really just kind of, basically kind of a chat to myself and to everybody, really just kind of how that time period just made us stop and enjoy the moment and everything that we do have. And, don't pass by it, So I think that's what that whole thing, maybe that's why I enjoyed it, Don't get me wrong, I'm ready to get back to it now. I'm ready. Second grade math is no joke.
Is that where the idea, or is the idea or the title of the record Accent to Change? Does that come from that experience, or is this something that you already had plugged in for?
No, I had that title for a while.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, it just worked out. Yeah, I probably had the title for about 2-3 years, maybe.
Cool. Wow. Sit there and talk about old time. I don't want to go back too much, but it's been. I do want to know, everything that you've experienced, and it's a lot. And you've been a chameleon through and through, and honestly, an inspiration for even me to get back into it and do what you do. Just to experience it again. So I love that Spectre bass, man. I wanted to pick that thing up so bad. I wanted to play it so many damn times. So I did. So thank you. I'm pretty
awesome.
It's kind of like, yeah, man, he's doing that. I said, I just want to get the hell back out there and just do it again. Except, exactly. So, so I just did. So I was like, yeah, man, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. Cool.
Good feeling, right?
Yeah. Talk about, you know what? And when we did it, man, it was because I told them that it's like a couple of people that asked me, it was like, yeah, do you play bass? I'm like, play guitar and drum, but I sing mostly. And I'm like, so you ever see this band back in the 80s? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And then when I picked it up, I was like, yeah, you know what? And then I really went to school. I went to school and learning.
Yeah.
And I picked it up and it wound up that, it were just cover songs. But I told them, I said, hey, you know what? If I don't want to waste anybody's time. If we're going to go and have fun with this, I go, let's do it classic 80s. Let's the lights, the sound, the whole wall of sound, and just pump it. And I don't care what the clubs say. I don't care, if it's a bar and whatever. I said, give them an 80s show like we used to have, like I grew up on. I said, let's entertain. And I know we talked about this last time, but and it's a segue into it. There's so many people have forgotten that that part of the entertainment, the balls to the wall, the big show, and everything like that. And it's missing. But I see it coming back. Is that something? Have you seen that? Have you seen kind of like the bigger shows? Like I know that symphonic metal does it. They have the bigger than life shows. The metal bands. Maiden still hasn't changed their deal.
You're looking at the wrong genre for it. You got to look at country. Country's the new heavy metal rock and roll show.
You think so?
Oh, yeah. Still? The drummer in Quarantine is Luke Bryan's drummer.
I know.
So he send us clips of like him. I mean, just ramps, bombs, and staging, and it's a Kiss show. I mean, the end of a Luke Bryan show is like a Kiss show. It's crazy. Check it out on YouTube.
There's ever no? I mean, I've probably watched a few of them where I'm like, okay, because I've seen what's the other guy? Oh my God, the glass. He wears glasses. Eric Church, right? And I look at this, I'm like, this looks like Motorhead. What am I missing here? And it's country music. Does ever?
They all have roots in rock and roll, and from that era. They're all big fans of that. So that's where it comes from.
Yeah, I mean, I know the roots of it does from a musical standpoint, but does ever once like you sit there? I mean, you lived it. I grew up watching it, and I go like this. Yes, I get it because that's what they grew up on, and I understand it's the time frame. But I'm going metal show. It's still hard for me to put the two together.
Yeah,
I've seen enough country shows. I've got the Judds under my concert belt, put it that way. So I've seen a few classic country, and I'm like, this never would have happened in the 80s via country, even early 90s via country. But now I see shows that we saw in the 80s, and now they're country. It's weird. This is weird.
Country bands, well, for one, are the only bands that are playing stadiums.
True story.
Put on shows like that.
True story.
Not a lot of rock and roll bands out there anymore, let alone big enough to, put on a good show like that.
No. What do you want to do with the rest of, last two? I don't want to keep it too much longer. Any plans to do anything and tour with this record after you come off the road or in the middle of it? Do you want to set up a tour, or what's going on with going out and supporting the record?
It's going to be, pieced into, my Swiss cheese schedule, I get to it when I can kind of thing, but motivated to do so. Like I have a show in 2 weeks. I'm just, playing acoustic, while we're still in these, restrictions and everything like that. So breaking it down, being more in Pennsylvania. And once everything opens up and it's a little bit easier to put it somewhere, I'll find the time, and definitely going to do some shows with it. I mean, yes, I put a record out in the pandemic. Some people say stupid move, but look, I was never going to have a Live Nation tour waiting for me. So I kind of put it out whenever. And realistically, I think it was the best time because everybody's at home and looking at their phones and looking at YouTube and, available to look and discover new music. So I figured that then was a good time. And I figured if people like the music, then they'll come see me play whenever. It doesn't have to be like, oh, you got to get out on the road right after the record comes out. Not for like me particular, like if you're Foo Fighters or something like that, maybe, well, Foo Fighters are grandfathered in there. They can tour without any new music. But I mean, it's kind of thing where people who are following my solo music, they'll come see me whether the record came out a year ago or 2 years ago, or, doesn't have to be hot off the heels.
I agree. That's a good point. That's really cool that you brought that up because I agree with you. And you have. Well, I mean, I think that has to do with cachet with the people who know you. I mean, that's cachet. I mean, if you can go out there and tour anytime on the stuff that you played, that's killer. I mean, that's exactly what you want. That you could just book a show anytime. You don't have to go in support of a record. It's at your pace, which is, to me, I think where you want to be. It's not a necessity. You can go there because you're enjoying and you want to do a show.
Right.
Yeah.
That's basically the dynamic I have. I mean,
yeah.
If if there's a big label with a big fat check wanted to put me on a schedule, maybe we talk. But...
Nah, I don't want to. Sorry. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Right. No, of course. Now, who said that? You know what? Damn it. Who was I talking to? Somebody exactly said the same thing in an interview I did last week. They said, hey, it was actually, I was talking to James Durbin, believe it or not. And he said the same thing. He was like, who am I to turn down $80,000 to put an album out?
Right.
I'm like, would you put an album out now? And we were getting to that conversation. Yeah. Who's going to say no? I mean, especially like you said, in this day and age when, record companies and everything like that, and the way that, who's putting together tours, especially right now, so, what would you ask? Well, you meet your younger self, decide to go hang out at Studio One, and you just grab a beer or whatever. And all of a sudden you see this band and it's you, younger self, and you pull them aside and say, hey, you know what would you tell that younger version of yourself that now?
I would probably say, hey, first of all, one day you're going to be able to drink one of these.
True.
Sorry, because I never had a beer in Studio One, I don't think. And
that's true.
I would just say, you're on the right track. Keep your eye on the prize, and just stay true to yourself. Because I think I would be smart enough to recognize that there was something special there. We had the eye of the tiger, so to speak. So, I mean, I probably wouldn't say all that much. I mean, I think I would really just say cheers. Good luck. And hold on to your hat. It's going to be a ride.
I know. Yeah. It's
strap in.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there you go. Thanks for a couple more minutes, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate you talking to me and your appreciation for the music too. Thanks for your support, man.
Okay. Always, man. Always. Anytime.
I'm glad to see you playing.
What was that?
I'm glad you're playing again.
Yeah. I have to tell you, it was needed because I'll be honest with you. Now I'm gonna get emotional. Damn it! But when I got the diagnosis, about now I'm in my 6th year, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going full boat with everything. Why? What's the point? And even taking chemo every night, man, I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. Offset it with meds and go out there. I mean, what's the point of not if I don't? And I have to tell you, it's been just to be able to do that makes you feel so when for people who've done it and you've done it, we know what it's about. We know what that power's like. We know what that feeling of alive is. And like I've told even my wife and everybody else, there's no feeling like it. Better than sex? I'm like, yeah, I hate to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, you're not the first person to say that. I mean, obviously, Steve filled in with Def Leppard.
Yeah.
And, Viv, to his credit, I mean, basically said the same thing that you did, and it was to a point to where, he was getting chemo and playing at night.
Yeah.
So, and the band told him a couple times, Viv, stay home. Steve's here. He's ready. You need to go take care of it. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. If I don't have my band, what do I have? And it really, I think it made him heal, because because he refused to kind of succumb to it and just kind of go home and, wait for it to get better. He said, fuck that. I'll do my chemo, fly around the world in between shows and get it done. I mean, he would sit in the chair, get chemo for a couple hours, and then go play the Staples Center. Sick.
Yeah.
I mean, what it's like. But damn, he would not want to miss a single show. And he missed as little as physically possible. But he said the same thing, screw that. I'm not just going to sit around and wait for it to get better. I'm going to keep living.
Exactly. And that's what it does.
The best way to do it is play music.
Exactly. And then when, I think the point of this, a lot of this, talking to you this whole time is, the fact of the power of each song and on the record, the power of playing live, the feeling that you get. And it's a healer. I absolutely believe it because it breathes, it breathes that light. It's as that moment in time, bro, when you lose yourself and you gain yourself at the same time.
Yeah.
You release, and then all of a sudden this power is brought onto you, and you just feel so alive. It's amazing. It's godlike almost, as far as, or spiritual, if you want to put it that way.
It's not just a saying.
I agree, and that's why. So again, aside from everything else that we talked about, being an inspiration for me to go and do that, and to be able to do that, I wanted you to know personally, dude, that.
Yeah, it's incredible. That's awesome.
That does have a lot to do with you, man. So I wanted to say thanks.